Hi, my name is Abhishek Mohan. I'm the founder and CEO of Hemp Street. In the US and the rest of North America, cannabis has seen a boom largely in the recreational side because of legalization in several states in the US. It's an over $40 billion industry. However, in medical, it has been a hotly talked about topic and seen growth in Western Europe. There's a lot of research being undertaken. However, the market in medical is still to achieve even close to its full potential. In India, we have a unique situation in that the medical side under Ayurveda is federally legal, which makes it one of the few countries outside of Canada and perhaps I would say Germany that has a federally legal structure, even not in the US, while recreational remains very illegal. So in India, the growth is coming from developing medical solutions from cannabis to target mass ailments, which is directly opposite of how the growth has been in North America. So essentially, we're seeing a trend of legalization of cannabis across the world. We have seen North America taking the lead, and now we have seen Asian countries taking a look at the same, starting with Thailand. Malaysia is also having a look at it, and we're looking at Laos and several other major countries. Even Japan is looking at CBD, which is one of the major cannabinoids from the plant. And so is India. India has a rich heritage with cannabis and medicine. So there is an opportunity for India to lead the world on the medical aspect of cannabis. And there are, it is not an industry without challenges. In India, given the NDPS Act of 1985, it makes it extremely important to stay within the regulatory confines of what is allowed and not allowed in cannabis. Well, as explained earlier, in India, it remains extremely illegal on a recreational basis, but federally legal on a medical basis. So, as a result, there is a lot of confusion in the minds of the end customer and also a little bit of nervousness in the minds of the companies that operate in the space. However, working with the government, working with law enforcement, working with the excise department, putting in the time to understand the regulatory framework, although time consuming and would take years to set up, it does provide for an avenue to grow. But having said the same, because of regular news items around recreational arrests around recreational possession or transportation, it tends to set a level of nervousness across the board. I think that is one of the major challenges. In the US, for example, which is a major market, it is a state-wise regulation that has happened, so that it is still federally illegal. So the challenge is that you cannot transport between states. R&D funding is limited. Finance, because banks find it hard to provide, banking facilities because as it's federally legal. Whereas in India, we don't have any of those issues. We just have the stigma that needs to be slowly, massaged out of the population due to the experience that the generation before mine have had due to the NDPS Act. I think at the outset, I'd really like to stress that every medical revolution should be about the patient. I think allopathy has phenomenal advances that they've made in analgesics, in injectables, in emergency medication. But when it comes to wellness or ongoing wellness or a long term, not a symptom suppression, but a long term cure, I think Ayurveda has its advantages. Now, again, the future is integrative. Ayurveda and allopathy must work together because no medical form is more important than the patient. Now, with specific regard to cannabis, Ayurveda has over 200 formulations for very specific ailments that utilize cannabis with other adaptogens. Now, because of the amount of funding that has gone into the recreational cannabis business in North America, there is a feeling that cannabis solves everything. That is not true. The idea is that cannabis is a conduit. It is one plant that is a very important plant, but it works together with adaptogens. Cannabis helps in reducing anxiety, which obviously is a big influence on your immune system. You cure faster when you're less stressed. That is well known. It also increases absorption, and it has an anti-inflammatory effect. Now, when you utilize other plant-based herbs to target very specific ailments. For example, menstrual cramps, where you add bamboo silicate with cannabis, which enhances the anti-inflammatory effect, it achieves a certain medical benefit. So Ayurveda has well documented formulations for various ailments, be it from irritable bowel syndrome to menstrual cramps to anxiety to sleep disorder. These just have to be taken through the clinical validation process, which I think is the responsibility of the medical community and of any player in the market to be able to add clinical validation to what is already traditionally known. In that way, you will be providing a trustworthy medical solution to end patients. And the patients are supreme. They are bigger than the doctor. They are bigger than they are bigger than any industry player or any medical firm. So essentially, I was in the incubator business. I was a co-founder in one of India's first incubators. And we had quite a large presence in healthcare ventures. So we saw, with a front row seat on how dismal chronic pain was in India. And I was also deeply moved by the opioid crisis in America, where at peak opioids, prescription opioids killed more people than any other street drug. And it was legally sold via doctors. So I think it became, and then you'd see the same thing for unfolding in Punjab, in prescription opioids abuse. So there needed to be a solution. And like I said, a few of my friends from Israel and Canada had founded quite well-known medical cannabis companies. And with that, we understood the potential of cannabis to solve for some of these mass ailments. So it took us over a year to understand, how Ayurveda allowed for these cannabis-based medications. Again, we are driven by ailments. If, like I said, I always say about Hemp Street is that if tomorrow banana leaf or banana peel works better than cannabis to solve the mass ailments that we're solving, we'll shift to banana peel. We'll be a banana peel company. So I think we started with that. We started with understanding the regulatory framework, which mass ailments to tackle. We were really, shocked to find out the situation of women's health and menstrual pain. So we started with that. And we remained razor sharp focused on the patient. We also understood the potential for abuse. So we developed a robust tracking system, even though we didn't have to understand that it got to the patient in a safe manner. So over the last couple of years, we've built, our product is today has been on the shelves of over 11,000 clinics across 25 states in India. We've helped hundreds of thousands of women, especially around menstrual pain. We've launched 4 products around mass ailments. Again, the idea is to utilize responsibly dispensed cannabis-based medication to change the quality of life of people. So fast forward to today, we've been the recipient of the BIRAC Biotech grant, the first ever cannabis company, for a transdermal patch, which will be a world first. So while we have built it with Ayurveda from India, we saw no reason to be a second grade or a clone. We have gone against the grain of the global cannabis industry. We have gone for polyherbal. We have gone for holistic. We have not obviously had the temptation of recreational being completely illegal. We have gone patient first. And today we stand proud to be part of many world firsts. One is the biggest implementation of blockchain and cannabis globally. We also have our product on the largest network of clinicians globally. And we will shortly be undertaking one of the first full-blown clinical trials on Ayurvedic cannabis in India and perhaps the world. We are completely committed towards clinical validation. So we have announced several partnerships in Israel, primarily in Israel, to take what we have in terms of formulations further, to develop them for bioavailability, to ensure clinical research so that we can provide products to the world. So essentially made in India for the world.